Thank you, Nigeria. Now I'm giving the floor to Morocco.
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Madame la Ministre, je voudrais vous saluer et saluer votre pays. Non seulement uniquement pour l'excellente organisation de ce sommet, mais parce que votre pays a fait la démonstration par les faits, par les actes, par l'action, que la lutte contre le colonialisme, et surtout le colonialisme intellectuel, qui malheureusement continue à papillonner dans la tête de certains. Vous l'avez broyé, Madame la Ministre. Votre pays l'a broyé par l'acte, par la construction démocratique, par les droits de l'homme, par le pluralisme, par l'alternance, par la construction de sociétés équilibrées, homogènes, libérées des affres du colonialisme dont nous avons tous souffert. Tous nos pays ont souffert du colonialisme. Mais aujourd'hui, nos peuples nous demandent autre chose que les déclarations de principe, dont on continue à se gargariser à longueur de sommets et de rencontres. Nos peuples demandent autre chose à nos chefs d'État qui vont se réunir dans 2 jours. Ils demandent des actes, des faits. Ils demandent des réponses pour que le colonialisme ne revienne pas, sous n'importe quelle forme, dictature ou autre. Nos peuples demandent et attendent de nous des réponses concrètes par rapport à leurs problèmes, à leurs problématiques, à leur vécu, à leur marginalisation. Ce qu'attend le monde de nous, ce n'est pas de continuer à faire de belles annonces au nom de quelques principes qu'ils soient. Le monde, comme nos peuples, demande de nous une réponse pratique, pragmatique, concrète. Ce que nos peuples et le monde attendent de ce sommet, que va faire l'Inde et l'Afrique? Quelles réponses sont-ils capables d'apporter aux difficultés auxquelles ils sont confrontés, auxquelles sont confrontés leurs peuples? Ils n'attendent pas de nous des déclarations de principe. Ceux qui continuent à s'accrocher aux déclarations de principe doivent se poser de vraies questions. Nous ne sommes pas réunis aujourd'hui pour faire des déclarations de principe. On n'est pas venu à ce sommet pour les déclarations de principe. Nous sommes venus à ce sommet pour apporter des réponses. Des réponses qui vont tirer un trait irrémédiable, définitif, à tout ce qui ressemble au colonialisme. C'est un faux débat, mesdames et messieurs. C'est un faux débat auquel nos amis, malheureusement, nous ont entraînés. Je ne comprends pas. Hier, à la réunion des hauts fonctionnaires, cette histoire était terminée. Dans le texte qui a été distribué ce matin, il ne comprend pas ces questions-là. Pourquoi cette question est revenue, Madame la Présidente, Madame la Ministre? Pourquoi est-elle revenue ce soir? Pourquoi dans le texte qui nous a été distribué ce matin, il n'y figurait pas? Pourquoi il revient maintenant? Je pose cette question. Je pose cette question avec toute la sincérité du monde. Personne n'a un problème avec le colonialisme. Personne ne défend le colonialisme. C'est un faux débat. La question qui est posée est la pertinence de continuer à faire ce type de déclaration dans des sommets qui se veulent responsables, dont le monde entier et nos peuples attendent des réponses. Continuer encore à raconter que le colonialisme est mauvais, etc., etc. Naturellement, personne ne le remet en cause. Personne ne tient quelqu'un d'autre par une lasse ou liasse, ou je ne sais pas ce qui a été dit. Quelqu'un qui veut se tenir par une liasse, c'est son problème. Le problème des peuples, c'est le développement, c'est la liberté, c'est le progrès. C'est ce que nous sommes ensemble capables de faire et de fournir, de produire. C'est de ça que le monde a besoin. C'est de ça que nos peuples ont besoin. Alors, Madame la Ministre, s'il vous plaît, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, chers collègues et amis, ne tombez pas dans le piège de la surenchère. Je vois des applaudissements et des sourires. Ce pays qui est en face de vous, Mesdames et Messieurs, est le fondateur de l'Union africaine. Au moment où les Africains luttaient réellement pour leur indépendance, au moment où les Africains souffraient encore du colonialisme, quand la lutte contre le colonialisme avait un sens, aujourd'hui, nous n'avons de leçons à recevoir de personne. Nous sommes un pays ami de tous les pays africains. Nous n'avons de problème avec aucun pays africain. Alors si vous avez des problèmes avec nous, c'est votre problème. Mais nos peuples, eux, pensent autrement. Et arrêtons de continuer à faire de la démagogie et à continuer à se dire nous allons faire des petits gains avec des textes que nous allons passer. C'est petit. C'est très petit, mesdames et messieurs. L'Afrique mérite mieux. L'Afrique mérite plus que les petites intrigues. L'Afrique mérite des élites capables de s'assumer et de l'assumer. L'Afrique a besoin d'avancer. L'Afrique n'a pas besoin de petites guéguerres. L'Afrique a besoin d'espoir. L'Afrique a besoin de tirer un trait définitif sur ce qu'on appelle aujourd'hui le colonialisme. Et on vient se prévaloir d'être les pays qui luttent contre le colonialisme. Lutter contre le colonialisme, c'est lutter contre la pauvreté. Lutter contre le colonialisme, c'est lutter contre l'exploitation des richesses. Lutter contre le colonialisme, c'est développer et libérer nos peuples. Lutter contre le colonialisme, c'est s'affranchir dans nos têtes. C'est ça l'indépendance. Et tant qu'on continue à faire le petit jeu qui ne sert personne, qui nuit à l'Afrique, qui nuit à l'unité de l'Afrique, nous n'avons absolument rien compris. Et ce n'est pas le Maroc, et jamais le Maroc ne sera celui qui ira contre le sens de l'histoire. Nous sommes un pays déterminé à avancer. Nous sommes un pays ancré dans l'Afrique. Et nous sommes un pays qui continuera à tendre la main à tous les pays africains. Notre objectif, c'est l'Afrique. C'est l'émancipation de l'Afrique. C'est l'émancipation des peuples de l'Afrique. Notre souci, c'est que le continent africain et les peuples africains ne soient jamais dominés par qui que ce soit. Que ce soit des peuples, un continent qui fait l'histoire, mais qui ne subit pas l'histoire. Mais tant qu'on continue à raisonner comme ça, tant qu'on continue à brandir les grandes paroles et les beaux paroles, nous n'allons pas faire l'histoire, nous allons continuer à subir l'histoire. C'est pour ça que le Maroc refuse que des mentions de ce type-là soient inscrites dans des déclarations de sommet de cette dimension-là. Nous refusons que nos chefs d'État s'adressent au monde en continuant à ressasser des histoires de 50, 60, 70 ans. Nous voulons que nos chefs d'État s'adressent à leur peuple et au monde en disant « il y a de l'espoir, nous allons travailler ensemble, nous avons des solutions à nos problèmes, nous sommes d'accord sur les principes et les fondamentaux qui vont faire que nos peuples vont s'émanciper, que nos pays vont s'émanciper et que nos pays vont avancer. » C'est ça ce qu'attendent nos chefs d'État et c'est ça ce qu'attendent nos peuples. C'est pour ça que, Madame la Ministre, je refuse que ce texte remonte avec des guillemets à nos chefs d'État, comme je refuse que cette mention soit inscrite dans ce texte, parce que ça serait une honte Une honte encore pour l'Afrique. Une honte pour l'Inde de continuer à ressasser ce type de message et de transmettre ce type de message. Jamais, au grand jamais, nous n'accepterons que notre continent et nos peuples continuent à donner une image de peuple non affranchi, de pays non affranchis. Et c'est pour ça que nous rejetons catégoriquement le texte tel qu'il est présenté, cette formulation telle qu'elle est présentée. Et nous refusons aussi, avec nos amis, que ce texte remonte avec des guillemets à nos chefs d'État. Il faut un minimum de respect à nos chefs d'État. Sinon, à quoi servent les ministres des Affaires étrangères réunis aujourd'hui? Si nous devons remonter un texte avec des guillemets à nos chefs d'État, je vous remercie.
Thank you. Thank you, Morocco. Now I'm giving the floor to Eritrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Eritrea has a clear and strong position on the issue under discussion. But I would like to raise a procedural issue, if you would allow.
Please do.
I think it is clear after 2 days of debate that we don't have a consensus. And continuing this discussion, I don't think is going to lead to a consensus either. So I just want you to enlighten us on how to move forward. We can continue this debate. All of us can present our positions on the issue under consideration and even raise more issues. But I just want to understand how we're going to proceed in case, as is very clear right now, we don't have a consensus. Some delegates were suggesting maybe there is a majority position and a minority position on this issue. Can we resolve this on the basis of deciding where the majority lies? I'm not sure that is the case. If the case is that we have to have a consensus, as I said, it's clear after 2 days of debate there's no consensus. And therefore, what is the thing for us to do if we don't have a consensus? You suggested earlier that maybe we break for 20 minutes and have this discussion. Again, it's clear that even if you give us another 20 minutes and have this discussion, we'll not have a consensus. So this is very clear. Now I think we need to decide on how to move forward in case there's no consensus, which is the case right now. There's also a suggestion that since we don't have a consensus here, then we move it or pass it on to our heads of state tomorrow. And again, I don't think it will be very difficult to imagine that we'll still be faced with the same problem tomorrow on this issue as well. So I think this is very clear. I think we need to agree on how to move forward on the basis that we don't have a consensus on this issue. You had stated when you began this discussion, you intimated that there were different positions, that these positions were strongly held, that you respected the positions. That was your introduction. Now, Chair, I seek your guidance and advice on how to move forward with the current reality that we face here. Thank you.
Excellency, there is a phrase in English, try again. I'll go on trying. I'll not give up. Maybe there is some agreed language on which both sides can agree. But I have got 4 more names. I'll give the floor to them. I'll listen to them also. I'm not impatient. I'm not in the habit of giving up. I'll not give up. But somehow or the other, we'll not give the text in bracket. We will resolve it today, and we'll resolve it by consensus or by unanimity. And now I give the floor to South Sudan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. First of all, I would really congratulate you for having handled this India-Africa Forum Summit in a very successful and effective manner. And I would like also to add my voice to say that In fact, as said by the Foreign Minister of Zimbabwe, that you were not intended to have suggested this. I can assure you the whole House here knows very well that you are not implicated as having either suggested or imposed any solution with regards to this issue of colonialism on our document. So you can rest assured that you have all the applaud for a job well done. But Madam Chairperson, what I would like to share with you, this issue is becoming contentious. It is a sort of a debate within the African Union itself. In fact, India is not implicated. Like all Africans, the things they always do, they would not want to wash their dirty linen in public because we know what is the source of this debate. Because I was suggesting that in case there was resurrection, if it happens, and then, or we had a telephone call from Mahatma Gandhi, or from Mandela, or from Ahmed Ben Bella, or from Agostino Neto, if we had telephone calls, or from Ben Bella for that matter, if they were to make a telephone call and we asked them that we have a problem we could not agree upon, and they would ask, what's your problem, people? We are here in heaven, what's going on? And we told them that we have some principle that we are saying that the call for the end of colonialism in the world. A very vague phrase, I must say. Really, it doesn't indicate and point finger on any of the members within this hall, whether within the context of the India-Africa Forum Summit. I'm sure they would be very surprised. They would be very surprised because the dignity we have today, the freedom and the dignity we enjoy today, is a result of the fight against colonialism, the liberation they staged. That's why we are here, sitting with confidence and trying to resolve our issues. We are talking both in English or in French. And what I've noticed, it seems that the English speakers are on one side and the French on the other. Yeah. And it reminds me, during the French Revolution, when the people of France were very hungry, and then they held a very big demonstration and they were marching towards the Bastille, you know. And people were shouting and shouting and they were holding. And then the Queen Mary came out and stood at the balcony. And he said, what is happening? What are they saying? Then they say, Your Majesty, they are asking for bread. There is no bread. And then she said, okay, if there's no bread, why don't they eat cakes? You know, she didn't even know that cakes were made out of the same flour bread was made of. Liberty, liberté, they used to say. Freedom. And we have seen today, democracy was born out of that. So, Madam, if we cannot really agree, we have been talking here about enhancing democracy within our systems, within the UN systems, within everywhere. If we cannot agree, we have got the power of vote. Yeah. We can either decide and vote on this issue, and the majority goes by the vote, or if you think that you want to push everything to your leadership, then it goes to the presidents for them to decide. But I think the phrase, Your Excellency, is a very clear statement that does not mention any country or anybody at all. Why would it be a problem? Are you going to suggest that this word colonialism is going to be removed even from the dictionaries, whether in French, English, or Arabic? If you don't want to hear it and have it in your documents, I don't think we will be able to do that. So as said by the leadership of Eritrea here, and as said before by Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, and Nigeria, I think we are bound by responsibility to carry forward the flag of our forefathers. Our forefathers were very clear in what they wanted for this continent. So our good partnership should really not be bogged down by the issue on a phrase which I think, as I was hearing from Morocco, they were also talking about, of course, Morocco fought against colonialism. That's true. So what is the problem? I would suggest that this phrase, in fact, it strengthens the document as we have it. If we have an argument, okay, let us vote for it. If we don't want our leadership to decide on this issue, we can use that. It is the only way where issues are resolved and what we are all working for. Because if you were to retreat for 20 minutes, Madam Chairperson, I don't think the small group of foreign ministers are not going to agree on this issue, and it will be a continuous debate. We know we have a few problems in Africa. I think none of you here has spoken about it. I think there is a problem of Western Sahara, and if you people are not talking about it, let me spill the milk for you to see. I think this argument is coming on this issue. But I think let us have a compromise. No names are being called. In Africa, when child is born, you take a month before you give the name. So now let's leave it as it is. And then if you want to give it the name you choose, that will be your problem. But at least the principle will have been preserved. So, Madam Chairperson, I think we need a way forward. If we cannot have consensus, let's vote. If we think we cannot vote and you take it to the presidents have very little time to talk on issues. They would be very surprised, such a group of very intelligent people well-versed in democracy and other ideas push such an issue to that forum. So I can assure you your chairpersonship has done a very good job. Our partnership will go ahead irrespective of this. And I would agree with the suggestions. And in fact, this phrase, this statement came out, a lot of work was put into it by some very responsible foreign ministers in this forum. I think they did a good job to keep everybody happy. And I think this is the only way we can be together. And I hope those behind the scenes who are struggling on this issue, please also notice our feelings as a majority in this forum. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, South Sudan. I'm giving the floor to Ghana.
Thank you very much, Honorable Co-Chair. I have taken the floor to propose what may be an acceptable compromise text. But before I make the proposal I have in mind, I would want to put on record that as far as my delegation is concerned, the mention of the word colonialism is not inconsistent with the other issues that we have raised. We've talked about terrorism, we've talked about violent extremism, we've talked about democracy, we've talked about the end of occupation. Why are these in the text? If our sole purpose here is just to talk about economic partnership, why are we talking about violent extremism and then occupation in Palestine? Because we live in a world political economy and there are interlinkages. So for us to isolate the mention of colonialism and then make all this fuss about it, frankly, is surprising. I think the African Union is going through a very critical phase. Its resilience is being tested, its integrity is being tested, and it's because after the end of apartheid and after the end of colonialism, perhaps we went to bed thinking that this is the end of history. This is not the end of history. Some of the things that we've defeated in the past may very well come back and enhance us. So I think we have to take a long-term view of the issues before us and not be short-sighted and not make compromises that will undermine our organization. Now, the specific proposal I have in mind is this. Listening to those for and against the issue under contention, everybody says that they are not against colonialism, which implies that We are not against self-determination, the right to self-determination of all peoples. So why don't we then perhaps modify the sentence that is creating so many headaches for some people and say that we affirm the right of all peoples to self-determination, and then maybe tag on to it the call for an end to colonialism in the world. That's the proposal I have in mind. Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you, Ghana. Now I'm giving the floor to Liberia.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've been following the OAU summits since 1973, when they had the first 10-year anniversary of the organization. I was in Addis Ababa in 1976 when Liberia tried to caution moderation and wisdom, and the day ended with the organization split down the middle. And what we were afraid of happened, that for 17 years, Africans were killing Africans in a civil war. I was a young man in Monrovia, the 1979 summit, which exposed our own internal contradictions as a nation. And for 15 years, we fought a devastating civil war. And some of our African brothers sent their sons who paid the ultimate price to help us save ourselves from ourselves. I'm saying all of this because I think we need to take a pause and surrender visions of the past. Yes, colonialism has been very bad for Africa, and our people have suffered under colonialism. But Liberia's Liberia's position has always been clear. We are a small country with very little resources, but we have never hesitated to use those resources to defend the rights of Africans for independence. And you can tell from the Goas incident where Liberia stood very clear. The situation in the Portuguese territories where Liberia stood very clear. From the Monrovia Conference to the Lagos Conference to Addis Ababa. I believe we have survived as an organization, both in the OAU and the AU, in the non-aligned movement, in the G77, by preserving the principle of consensus. And if we can reach consensus on an issue that is not life and death for us at this time in history, then I think we'll do ourselves a disservice as foreign ministers to send an issue to our principles that will cause discomfiture and spoil the good atmosphere that has been obtaining since our arrival here. We've had the first India-Africa Forum Summit here in Delhi. The second India-Africa Forum Summit was held in Addis Ababa, the headquarters of the AU. And we have had no such contentious issue inserted in the agenda. I believe it will be wise for us to take a breath, a fresh breath, and handle this issue, maybe, as I say, carry it to another forum. We had last year, Africa celebrated the 50th anniversary of the AU. of the OAU and the successor. We never said goodbye to colonialism. But we know that when was the last African country independent? So let us not dwell on visions of the past, but look forward as we have now concerted our efforts towards economic independence and progress, the eradication of poverty from our people, disease, and accelerated economic development. I think it will be a disservice to our leaders who are not prepared to come here and indulge in a non-consensus issue at this time. It will be an embarrassment. That is our contribution. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Liberia. Now I'm giving the floor to Angola.
Muito obrigado, Excelência Senhora Ministra das Relações Exteriores da Índia, Excelência Senhor Ministro das Relações Exteriores do Zimbábue. Nós gostaria de aproveitar esta oportunidade para felicitar-vos pela forma como estão a conduzir os trabalhos. Senhores Ministros, nós tomamos boa nota da discussão que estamos a ter sobre este ponto relacionado com a afirmação dos países africanos de pôr fim ao colonialismo no mundo. Eu penso que nós todos estamos recordados, em circunstâncias iguais a essa, e em fora internacionais, em África, sempre foi afirmado a determinação dos países africanos de lutarem contra o colonialismo e de não permitirem que o colonialismo possa ser instalado no mundo. E há países que lutaram para que isso acontecesse. Recentemente, assistimos à independência de Estados africanos. E nós sabemos que com o colonialismo não há desenvolvimento. Porque o colonialismo não permite a liberdade de expressão, a liberdade de pensamento e a liberdade de usufruirmos dos nossos recursos. Acho justo que num fórum como esse, em que vai se tratar do desenvolvimento econômico e social, não podemos esquecer de princípios básicos, como é o fim do colonialismo. Por isso, nós achamos que devemos encontrar um consenso para que essa expressão se mantenha no documento final e que devemos fazer tudo para que não remetamos aos nossos chefes de Estado e de Governo documentos inacabados. É por isso que, Sr. Presidente, pedimos a vossa compreensão para que possamos discutir até encontrarmos um consenso. Muito obrigado.
Thank you, Angola. Excellencies, we have heard all points of view. In all, 16 speakers have spoken on this subject. Now I'm breaking for 20 minutes. My delegation will sit with the representatives and try to have an agreed language for this. We break for 20 minutes and we'll again assemble here at 8 o'clock.